Good, very early morning, Bruce.
Yes, very early.
Thank you for tuning in.
That's okay.
So welcome everyone to this session of urban mining and operations when it comes to e-waste management, different parts of fractions, etc. We are waiting for 2 more participants and also some other attendees. I can see we lost some people when transferring them. They click themselves and then it takes a while to get back to the session. Otherwise, we move them automatically from session to session. We have a discuss forum in the right-hand panel. It says discuss or Q&A. It doesn't matter where you put your questions or comments. Please use that chat so that we make it an interactive session. And then we have no active polls right now. We will put some questions in there. Not sure we're going to have time to do them though, because I think this session is going to be packed with information from the panelists, which is the main purpose also. So now we have 49 people in, 39 watching. And we have people from India even joining. Wonderful. Welcome. It's a government-authorized electronic waste management company in India who is represented by Rika Devale. Wonderful. You're much welcome. Maybe we have some other e-waste management companies represented also amongst the attendees. We'll be happy to know about that. Please keep the flow and ask questions or come with comments if you have other suggestions or input into the discussion. That's wonderful. All right, we need to start the session and the other two will hopefully join in as we go along. So with me and with us today, we have Michael Labacher. Am I pronouncing it somewhat correctly, I hope?
Yes.
Who's a sales manager at Airaga Limited. Wonderful, welcome. And we have Bruce McLean, managing director at CCL North in UK, Northern UK, Scotland. Welcome. This is also great because we will hear so many different dialects. Myself, I don't even know longer what I have. The Swedish, American, English, Kenyan dialect right now. So you are much welcome and we look forward to hearing what you're doing. All of you will have a moment to do a presentation and then we will have a joint discussion and Q&A afterwards. So Michael, are you ready to start?
I am ready, but I need your guys' technical assistance with my presentation.
Okay. Leon is running. Okay. 2 seconds. There are technical pauses and there are biological pauses. We need to take it sometimes. Maybe Bruce, are you ready to start? We can do that instead.
I've no idea, but I can have a go.
But you're muted.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
I should be unmuted now. Is that okay?
Can you hear me now? All right, fantastic.
Now I also hear you.
Okay.
And now we have Giulio. How do I pronounce your last name? Airaga?
Airaga, yeah, that's it.
Airaga, okay. Who's the managing director of Desco in South Africa. So we have 2 South African companies represented, but doing totally different things, and from Scotland. So Bruce was about to start. Go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. The floor
Can
is
I-
yours.
You can hear me now. Is that okay?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Just have a quick look here. Okay, can you see this? Seem to have lost you. Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
And by the way, everyone, we have an interaction button also in the bottom. If you haven't seen in this floor, I'm just giving some instructions now, where you have a thumbs up or even hearts and celebrations and claps, etc. So it is encouraging when you're sitting in front of a screen to actually see. So I'm clicking hearts, of course. And now we have our fourth participant, but he disappeared again. How's it going, Bruce? Do we think we're sharing the screen?
I think so, but maybe you can't see it. I don't know. Let me just come out of here. Rather we look.
Yesterday it was about 70-30. 70 worked, 30% didn't work. So okay, maybe you can just start. No, maybe.
There we go.
No. Gotcha.
Okay, good. We have the technology. We just don't know how to use it. Apologies for that. Okay. My name's Bruce McLean. I'm the managing director of two companies who specialise in recycling WEEE. We are based in Scotland, in the UK. The first company, CCL North, was founded in 2000, and CCL specialise in repair and recycling of electronic equipment, including IT and telecoms equipment, and also small domestic appliances such as toasters and kettles, hoovers, that type of product. We don't do white goods. We do collect in white goods and fridges, but we don't have the capability in-house, so we move them on to somebody else that can recycle them properly. The second company, Restructure Limited, was founded in 2005, and Restructure, recycle and repair display equipment. That includes CRT display products, which we still get quite a few in, flat screen TVs such as LCD, LED and plasma displays, and currently in-house we process over 2,000 televisions every single day. How do we do our urban mining? I must apologise because up until Tuesday I didn't realise that it was called urban mining. It's a new phrase for me. It's been called so many things over the years. But we work to the circular economy. We're aiming to initially extend product life cycles if we're able to through reuse and repair. Products that can't be reused, we very carefully dismantle them and segregate all the components, and what we're doing there is trying to achieve the maximum value possible through component reuse and metals recovery. It's important for us to try and find a commercial solution for all the materials and the parts recovered from electronic equipment, not just necessarily the most valuable bits. We've found that if we focus on the hard bits, the easy bits, they look after themselves. In our industry position, I keep hearing that e-waste is the fastest growing waste stream in the world, and it's possibly very true. Scotland, in fact, is quite a small country, part of the UK, but Scotland itself, its population is somewhere around 5.4 million, which I believe is only 1/10 of the population of Kenya. And by volume, we are only maybe the third largest recycling company in Scotland. We're probably not even in the top 10 by volume in the UK, but of course we are the best in the UK at what we do. We process around 10,000 tonnes of WEEE every year, which is quite extraordinary for quite a small company, and it just demonstrates that e-waste is growing very rapidly. We turn over about 4.6 million, so $5.5 million US, and we employ 90 full-time staff. So in our experience and of what we've been doing and what we have learned and what we would like other people to, if we're able to help them with, is the following main points of what we do. Where possible, we try and process all of the products as close as we can to where they're actually discarded. Scotland is quite reasonably densely populated in the central belt, central part of Scotland, but everywhere else in Scotland can be quite remote and difficult to access, so transportation is quite expensive. We need to be able to understand where the hazardous materials are and how to manage these materials properly. And the main ones that we've been finding is obviously phosphor in some of the televisions, lead in all the products, mercury and batteries. And more recently, persistent organic pollutants is we're becoming more and more aware of them, and that may cause some additional problems in the future. We found that actually dismantling most products by hand is relatively straightforward, and in the main that's what we do, and that helps us to maximize the values of the waste then that comes out of the equipment. We like to keep things very simple in how we do things, and more importantly, we try and keep it as safe as we possibly can. And then I would recommend that by recycling all of the products and all the materials in your own country has the benefits of keeping the value of those materials and creating the jobs as well, and keep those jobs in your own country. That's all I have to say for the time being. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bruce. Like you said, keep it simple and keep it safe. I think those are words to go by. Let's hear the next, and also welcome now he disappeared again. But we had Peter Ajulu, who's the Senior Manager Networks and Distribution at Mr. Green Africa here in Kenya. Welcome back again, Peter. I was introducing you and then you disappeared because the other ones were already introduced in the beginning of the session. We're happy that you joined us and that Mr. Green is also represented. Mr. Green works with plastic recycling. So now we have another 30 minutes before the Q&A panel session. So Michael, Giulio, and Peter, you will have 10 minutes each, barely. Let's say 8, so we have some. And let's start with Michael now.
100%. I can try and share my screen.
Okay, now, yeah, and we have the team all set here also, so in case.
Excellent.
Good.
So, yeah, thanks, Simone. I presume you're going to play it on your side, not from my side.
Yes, Leon is playing it.
I think I figured it out.
Do you have it
on my
prepared
side,
already?
But I hope
Okay. I thought it was up and running.
I can share it on my side. I'm just not sure if the video will play.
I think it will play if you share, but you can try.
Okay.
Share screen.
100%. Let me try.
It's more that we need to get the sound working, I guess. But let's see
I
how
hope
it works.
it's going to work. Excellent. No, thanks a lot, Simone. Yeah, guys, thanks a lot for the opportunity. I think we were here last year as well at the first round, and we've made some progress since our last discussions last year. Again, refrigerants is not something, well, it's not e-waste, but we do find it in e-waste, and I do know that it is a problem for e-waste recyclers. And also looking at the global side of things, we find Africa as a dumping ground for old fridges and old air conditioning systems, which has very harmful gases inside it. Hence, it left other countries to come to Africa. And they've kind of left it for Africa to deal with. And what we find in Africa is there's no real home for the refrigerant. So what happens typically in industry is the gases are just released into atmosphere. And these gases are extremely harmful. They have high global warming potential and ozone depletion. And A-gas, which I'm going to play a video that explains everything, but we want to try and capture all that refrigerant and stop it from being released into the atmosphere. And we are wanting to partner up with people around Africa to assist in doing so. So without further ado, I'm going to play a video just to give some background on A-gas, and I really hope this works and the sound plays. Give me a thumbs up if it doesn't. It does. Perfect.
The world changes fast. Public opinion changes even faster. Changing environmental legislation affects your commercial decisions. With sustainability in the mix, it becomes harder to ensure those decisions are future-proof. With over 70 locations worldwide, in more than 12 countries, across 5 continents, people around the world come in contact every day with what A-gas does. A-gas started as a gas distributor, buying and selling products across the air conditioning, refrigeration, and fire suppressant industries globally. Today, we are far more than that. We have grown to be the market leader, supporting our global customers as they make better informed commercial decisions and move towards a more environmentally friendly way of working. At a time when consumers are demanding that products are manufactured and managed in less wasteful ways, recycling and reusing materials has never been more important to industries across the globe. This is the circular economy. What makes A-gas's contribution to it so successful and exciting? That's simple. The knowledge and expertise of our global teams with a dedication to providing world-class recovery and reclamation services to your sector. Increasingly, A-gas customers are embracing this green future while maintaining their competitive advantage. That's why at A-gas we invest in the very latest technology so that we can support you. Our bespoke in-house design technology alongside our on-site rapid recovery teams are working to provide you with efficient, environmentally responsible services. We recover gas that has already been used, for example in air conditioning systems or supermarket refrigerators, returning it to our facilities to be cleaned for future reuse. Our first-class recovery and reclamation process reduces need for manufacturers to make new materials, minimizes waste, limits emissions, and helps our global customers meet regulatory objectives. The focus on climate change has meant extraordinary growth in worldwide environmental legislation. As each new piece of legislation is adopted in countries around the globe, the type and makeup of the gases sold has changed at varying rates. A-gas sources the next generation products while finding, recovering, and reprocessing material from the market. A-gas customers trust the quality of our world-leading reclaimed products. Take Halon, for example. Over 25 years ago, the manufacture of this gas ceased, but it is still the most widely used product for aircraft engine safety. We searched the world to recover used Halon and reclaim it for this essential use. Governments around the world look to A-gas to responsibly and efficiently manage this critical aviation resource. Major air conditioning manufacturers utilize A-gas reclaimed refrigerants to fill certain models of current generation air conditioning units. These are recovered, cleaned, separated and reclaimed in A-gas facilities. At the end of the unit's life, the refrigerant returns to A-gas and the cycle begins again. And leading car manufacturers use reclaimed R134A refrigerant supplied by A-gas in certain models of new cars, a significant endorsement of the quality of our reclaimed refrigerant. A-gas is leading the way in helping customers reduce their environmental impact. By managing the complete life cycle of refrigerants, A-gas can offer bespoke carbon offset instruments to any business to lower their carbon footprint. As regulatory change continues to intensify globally, A-gas is always the first to provide up-to-the-minute solutions to keep our customers ahead of the curve wherever they operate. Being world-leading experts in our field, we bring advanced and innovative products to market, tailoring exceptional service for each of our customers. We are A-gas. This is our environmental story, and we're here to help you write yours.
There we go. I hope I'm back. So just quickly, I hope that all played okay. And that's a bit of what A-gas does on the refrigerant side. And there is a connection to WE, I guess, is that WE does collect air conditioning systems as well as refrigerated systems and might find themselves with gas inside and they're not knowing what to do with it. So I'll get to a slide where we've partnered up with WE in Kenya. However, just quickly, these are the gases that are harmful, which is CFCs, which is your R11 and R12 that you'll find in old fridges. I mean, in very old systems, these were phased out from manufacturing in the 2000s, but we still find a lot of CFCs, especially in Africa. And we would like to try and capture these and get these back and not get them released into the atmosphere. So if you ever come across them, please let us know and we can definitely enter discussions. The same with HCFCs. These are more commonly used now, which is R22, the main one in Africa, and then HFCs, which is your 404s, 507, and 134As. I'm not sure if you guys know about these refrigerants, but maybe you come across them. Please give us a call or whatever. We can try and assist you in capturing this and taking them off your hands and ensuring they're not released into the atmosphere. One of the main things is if we had to stop refrigerants from being released into the atmosphere, the current global refrigerant stockhold we would actually stop 90, just under 90 billion tons of CO2 being released into the atmosphere, which is around 1.6 billion vehicles running 24/7 over a full year. So refrigerants are very harmful if released into the atmosphere. Another part where we find refrigerants is in disposable cylinders. So I know most countries in Africa receive gas when they charge systems in these canisters. And these canisters are one-way packaging. You can never empty them 100%. So there's always around 300-400 grams of gas left in these canisters. And normally they make their way to landfills. And in landfills, if landfills are willing to accept them, they just get crushed, and that gas then it gets emitted into atmosphere. I just did a quick calculation in Kenya, because Kenya is not a returnable cylinder market, but there's around 150,000 disposable canisters going into Kenya every year. And if we take 300 grams of that is getting released into the atmosphere every year, it's around 60 tons of various refrigerants getting released into the atmosphere. If we have to look at an African view, that's obviously a lot more refrigerant getting released into the atmosphere. What we do in South Africa and what we're starting to do in Kenya is we're starting to collect these canisters and suck the heels out of them and make them available to further down the line to actually weld these canisters into either cookers or braais or bottle coolers or cooler boxes. We've seen that happening in South Africa, and we're wanting to start this kind of entrepreneurship in various countries in Africa while taking the refrigerant out and then safely disposing that. Another side is, I guess, the white goods. I'm sure a lot of you do experience this, where you are getting old fridges back and old air conditioning systems, and inside the system there is still gas inside. We offer the equipment to recover that gas, bulk it up, and then we take the refrigerant and reclaim it. Again, trying to stop that gas from emitting into the atmosphere. So since the last time we did the presentation, I'm very pleased to say that we have joined forces with We Center in Kenya, and we've set them up with a recovery system in that, and we're busy working closely with them to start recovering the refrigerants out of these systems, also looking for disposable cylinders to recover the heels out of them, and to help the contractors, the HVAC contractors. Currently, they do recover gas, but they have nowhere to take that gas to. And I think that is a problem in the whole of Africa. And if we can get a central point like we Center set up to take back the gas and bulk it up, we then able to then take that gas off of their hands and make sure that it's environmentally handled. And yeah, that's, I guess, all that I have to say on that, but I only have 8 minutes or so. I hope I didn't go over time. But if there's any questions, please let us know. If you see any opportunities or we can be of any assistance, or you're aware of any refrigerants in your regions, please let us know so we can help and discuss with you on how we can sort that out. Thanks, Samantha.
Thanks a lot, Michael. And it's quite alarming that this hasn't been addressed until now, actually, in Kenya and many other countries, not at all yet either. So
yeah, what
has been happening with all of this for such a long time? It's, yeah. Thank you for what you're doing. And I hope you will find more partners also across the continent for this. Lovely. We step forward. We move to, have we lost Giulio? I don't see him here.
No,
but Peter? No, now I see both. I was going to go with Giulio.
Sure.
The floor is yours.
Cool. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. But we see you.
Okay, can you see the presentation screen?
No. Did you choose share screen or?
How about now?
Now something is happening. Yes.
You can see it.
Now we're
and
there.
If I put it into presentation.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. All right, fantastic. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Giulio Airaga. I'm from Desco Electronic Recyclers. I'm the managing director. I've been part of the team for about 7 years, and Desco has been in the South African market for best part of 30 years now. In November, which is now, we're going to be celebrating our 30th year in business and just reflecting on effectively where we've come from. So Desco works, our core business is electronic waste recycling. We focus on ITAD, which is your data destruction, which is both software and hardware. And then we also do the reuse and repair of electronics. We've got some new focuses now, which is to do with the catalytic converters and the treatment of printed circuit boards for metal recovery. The latest waste stream that we are investigating is battery recycling, and that is something that I would like to speak to you about today. So I'd like to just paint a quick picture of what our problem is at the moment and what we're trying to do to achieve it. So naturally, electrification has brought about tremendous comfort, convenience, and connection to all of us as we go about our daily lives. But with the growing demand for energy and ever-increasing costs of attaining and burning fossil fuels, we're constantly worsening our impact on the environment. But this is not a climate change message, and I'm not here to blame you for the demise of the environment just because you have a cell phone. I'm simply here in the hopes that when you leave today, you can ask the question, what happens when it dies? And hopefully you can ask, how can I bring it back to life? So let's talk about batteries. Thanks to lithium-ion batteries, we're moving to a new era of electrification. We need the materials to produce the batteries, but any extractive process bears its costs. Mining is impactful to the environment and it is expensive. And as consumers, we obviously bear the cost of that. The more the need for mining, the more expensive the final product. Now, lithium is pretty central to this. And about 50% of the world's lithium supply has been found in the lithium triangle across Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. A recent study suggested that given the increased demand for batteries, we could run out of lithium towards the mid-century and run out of nickel and manganese in the next decade. Furthermore, cobalt is found in batteries and is mainly found in Congo, which has unfortunately been linked to inhumane working conditions. So, lithium mining requires the pumping of salt water from underground lakes into pools and then letting it evaporate. The process is highly toxic and it could harm the environment. Making a single battery for a car can produce as much as 4 tons of CO2 emission. Or I suppose in more understandable terms, it's like running a diesel engine for about 33,000 kilometers. But as battery manufacturing becomes more efficient, the costs tend to go down. However, the bad news is that batteries lose their capacity over time, which means that there will be a lot of spent batteries coming, ultimately leading to a brand new waste stream. So how do we deal with this problem? There are 2 ways. Firstly, you have reuse. When you look at a car battery or an EV car, it has a battery in it that can potentially last for about 10 years before it needs to get changed out. But it still has a purpose. Now, you can repurpose it by taking that battery and using it in a storage facility for a solar plant, and it will be able to hold the charge, hold the energy, and power your electric plant quite well. But the problem is, what happens when that battery dies? You must then in turn recycle it. Now, to recycle is to recover the raw materials and produce new products. We need to break them down and recover all those core commodities. So, the current process to do this involves the smelting of batteries. We heat them, we melt them. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, the process to recover these batteries is a smelting process, which uses a lot of energy and creates toxic emissions, and worse still, you risk losing some of the materials. So, what is a better way to effectively do this? We've designed a process to tackle this problem, which has led to much higher recovery rates and reduces the effect of burning to 0. Our process is a mixture of mechanical and hydrometallurgical. So, ordinarily, if you take a battery, you compress it and you shred it. Because the battery still has a charge in it, it has the potential or risk of igniting and then this is our process. We submerge the battery in a non-toxic solution. What that does is removes the charge from the battery and it mitigates the risk of ignition. Before the battery goes into a shredding, we reduce that risk. Once the battery goes into the shredding process, it liberates all the materials. It breaks it down and produces a whole bunch of core fractions such as aluminium, plastics, and copper. But then there is another material that pushes through, which is called black mass. So suppose before we get to the black mass, I just want to show you this is what the materials look like. There's a steel fraction, there is a copper and aluminium, there is a plastic concentrate, and all of these materials have a local outlet. That is the black mass where the valuable materials are, such as your nickel, cobalt, and most importantly, your lithium. Now, after this, a hydrometallurgical process takes place, which converts the black mass into a battery-grade raw material. These are just some of the figures that you can have a look at, which is the output of the black mass. The idea being that should we be able to recycle batteries locally, we can produce a battery-grade raw material, supply it back to producers, and they can produce sustainable batteries through that. Now, a battery can be one of the most circular products on the market because all the materials can be recycled. The more the world gets electrified, the more the need for this growing type of recycling. So, how can you get involved? Firstly, Desco's core business has been electronic waste recycling. It's anything with a plug or battery. But we've noticed that as modern technology advances, we want our electronics to be mobile. So it's a laptop, it's a Bluetooth headset, everything needs to be on the go, which means it can't be connected to a plug, it has to be wireless. This means it has to come out with a battery. Furthermore, we cannot rely on a consistent energy supply from our power utility in South Africa, so there has been massive investment into alternate energy supplies by using batteries. So, some of the current projects that we are working on to pilot this process is by servicing telecoms industries. We've effectively scrapped their obsolete electronic assets, but in recent projects, we've noticed that there's been an increased focus on projects with batteries rather than batteries just being a byproduct of the electronics. It's been full scale, just recycling batteries. So we've had to make detailed recommendations to this process and investigate this waste stream more closely. Naturally, we need the appropriate licensing to qualify for this treatment, which is all covered in our waste license. There are a few risks in handling batteries. Batteries pose a fire risk, and if they are mishandled or vandalized, they need to be specifically handled with care, especially when it comes to the storage, transport, and processing thereof. They need to be in an isolated area away from sun or a source of heat to mitigate the risk of ignition. This principle must be followed by the people that not only decommission, but store, transport, and process. So when choosing an electronic recycler, you must ensure that they have a waste license with a clearly identified process to handle this type of waste stream. Our vision is to upscale this battery recycling in South Africa. Imagine if we could create a process that mitigates the need for virgin materials to be mined. Imagine if every new battery produced from this point onwards came from urban mining. These materials from the urban environment could be reused indefinitely, and we need each one of you to be part of this process, to be part of the collection model, to generate feedstock, to supply recyclers with raw materials, and producers to create new sustainable products. For every ton of batteries recycled, we could avoid 5 tons of CO2 emissions from being mined. And that's me. Thank you.
Much, Giulio. This is really interesting and groundbreaking and lovely that you're putting all this effort into this. And thank you for also enlightening us about how it works. So we'll take it later in the panel discussion. We have Peter Ajulu from Mr. Green with us. Peter,
yeah, thank you, Simon.
Floor is yours.
Sure, let me just present my screen. So I believe you can see my screen, right?
Yep, we got it.
Cool. Let me just go right into it. So good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Ajulu for Mr. Green Africa. I'm a Senior Manager, Networks and Distribution. Thanks for the opportunity to really walk you through what we do as a business. So I'll start with a brief introduction. We were founded in 2014, so we've been in existence for the last 8 years, and our core business is to recycle plastic. And we have 3 main types of plastic that we currently recycle. That will be PET, we have PP, we have HDPE, and ABS. So we make our waste sector part of our solution and partner with FMCG companies to position social and environmental impact at the core of our financially stable and scalable business. And we have three main core pillars that form the basis of our business. So one is to have a sustainable business model where we position social and environmental impact at the core of a financially sustainable and scalable business model. Then we have a social impact objective. Through this, our inclusive sourcing and process model supports payment of fair prices and delivery of additional social economic support to the waste workers, who are our core suppliers of the plastic that we recycle. And lastly, the environmental impact. We stop plastic waste from leaking into the environment and convert it into new sustainable resources. We are also trying to see how best we can engage consumers so that we can prevent the plastic from entering the environment, the landfills, and we can be able to capture it when it's much cleaner in a way that is more viable in terms of commercials. Our uniquely integrated model has inclusion of the consumers. So we try to apply fair trade principles to the plastic waste value chain. We also integrate our software to include stakeholders and redistribute values. So how this is achieved is that we have an app through which we purchase our plastics, and we're able to see how the lives of the people that we transact with are being impacted, if the economic and social well-being is improving, or where is it, and how can we come in to ensure that they are above the living wage rate. We also partner with external and local processing companies through an asset-light hub model, where we convert plastic waste into local manufacturing value chain, and we also use the latest technologies in an emerging market context. We also know how to produce high-quality PCR at par with imported virgin plastics. And important here to note is that we have a state-of-the-art laboratory through which we are able to have quality checks of the pellets that we sell to our partners to ensure that we are at par with the virgin plastic. So basically what this means is that we can 100% be able to substitute virgin plastic for recycled plastic. We are closing the loop through partnering with various FMCG companies, and we are trying to build long-term relationship with brand owners such as global FMCG companies like Unilever. We also offer our partners traceability and clear social and environmental impact goals, where we are providing packaging raw material for them. We're also partnering to do marketing and sales distribution, and also being able to create a consumer and user disposable method that is sustainable in the long term by trying to partner also with estates, trying to see other retail channels that we can be able to have collection points through which you can get the plastic. We recently partnered with We Center, where we are currently collecting ABS, which forms almost 90% of the plastic that we're getting from them. And I'll just walk you through some of the opportunities that we can envision, and we can be able to leverage on the same. So for the brand owners, there will be traceability of the e-waste plastic through the value chain. We're able to quantify what quantity of e-plastic we collect from the brand owners, and we can also leverage and see how best we can be able to channel it back into finished products. There's also an opportunity to integrate PCR into certain products where applicable, and these are conversations that we need to see which products can integrate, which products can be able to integrate usage of recycled plastic. Another opportunity and benefit will be a positive brand image by becoming a green company, and through this we're able to also be able to earn some carbon credits that can be able to assist in scaling of the partnership. There is also a cost saving on raw material upon integration of PCR, as the recycled plastic is about 20% lower than virgin plastic in terms of prices. For the e-waste disposable companies, the opportunities we see here is one, safe and more innovative ways of e-waste disposal. There's also value addition through selling of sorted e-waste plastic to recyclers like ourselves, Mr. Green Africa. And lastly, we see this as a way of providing more employment opportunities by engaging other waste pickers to come on board as sorters or other jobs that are related to the sorting of the plastic. For the recycling companies, the key opportunities here are we will be able to get clean feedstock from the e-waste plastic that does not go into the environment. Also, there's an opportunity to have new partnership opportunities with brand owners through three-way agreements. And how this will work, it will be ourselves as the recyclers, the brand owners, and the converters. These are conversations that we can always explore and see how we can be able to integrate the same. Then the last one here is additional employment opportunities across the value chain. So with the opportunities, we have also looked at some of the challenges that are currently plastic handling and disposal. From the interactions and the communication we've been trying to seek, there's very low awareness and knowledge of the same and how to be able to separate that. There's also limited access to e-waste plastic by plastic recyclers. Currently, we're dealing with a waste center in Kenya. We'd like to see whether we can be able to bring more on board more of the other users so that we can have a high portfolio and we can be able to channel back that back to them. Then also lack of training on how to sort e-waste plastic. What we realize is that most of this plastic still has other components that are not plastic, like metals and other non-plastic items that are glued together. Then there's also low integration rates of e-waste plastic by PCR brand owners, which I've already mentioned. And lastly is the data on e-waste plastic. So this is something that we're also looking at. It's a challenge at the moment, but we can turn it into an opportunity to really provide data on what amount of e-plastic is being collected and what are we able to recycle and convert back into reusable products. As I conclude, we look at some of the partnership putting strategies that we can collaboratively look at. So one of them is complementary objectives that draw shared values from our collaborations. Then clear alignment of activities that we can commit to within given certain timelines. Also, we would like to see clear resource mapping and allocation by each of the partners that we would like to work with. Then have a joint execution and marketing communication. And lastly, we look at reporting, reviewing, and revising once we get more players on board on how we can be able to make e-plastic a more exciting venture for us as the recyclers and also the brand owners of the same. Very brief presentation, and I think I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, now we have all presented and we are entering the discussion, and we have some questions or comments already in the panel, so I'm looking through and you can also see it from your side. If we start with that, I'm thinking it's a question for Airaga. If you operate in West Africa, Nigeria to be precise. Thank you from Stephen. How is that, Michael?
Yeah, I guess, Airaga's side, we do operate in West Africa. I guess we have various factions of our business. So we do sell refrigerant into West Africa. We have a distribution network in Ghana currently. But from the waste side of things, yeah, we haven't got an operations yet in West Africa on that. We are looking for partners to start setting these things up in West Africa in various countries. So we're happy to get into discussions with various people on that.
Very good. And then we have a comment on how does common African constructs have CFC and HCFDs without some sort of sensitization and awareness. And I'm thinking that is definitely something that the government needs to pick up on, which includes all the electronics, of course, also. So
Yeah, I think from our side, I mean, again, there's two sides to this. One is selling refrigerant into countries, and the refrigerants are actually governed by UNIDO and the Kigali and Montreal agreements. And through that, the HVAC technicians and HVAC associations in every country is managed by the national ozone units of each country. And education is happening on the front side of you shall not release refrigerant into the atmosphere. There is those laws all in place. But the problem comes in is they install all of this equipment, and when the equipment gets decommissioned, that side of the business is not educated. That side of the market, and it's to try and educate that side to ensure that that refrigerant is not released into the atmosphere. But we are working with them, and yeah, it is a big continent. It's a lot of people, a lot of countries. The education is key, but it's quite difficult to get to the people you need to.
yeah. All right. So in this session now, when we've heard both about in general what's happening, but also some specific topics where you talked about the batteries, Giulio. How do you see, because first of all, to have the investments and technology to develop, you need first, well, money, but you also need to know that you have the material flow coming in to be able to base. How are you guys working with that issue? And then the quality routines. I know South Africa, compared to many other parts of Africa, has a different type of high technology, etc. So how do you see the descriptions between let's say, the other countries and yourself in that sense?
Sorry, Simone, I've literally just dropped off. I totally missed your question because of the internet
Oh, I'm
connectivity.
sorry. I was saying, when barging on such a huge project with taking on the lithium-ion batteries with new technology, and how do you also then work with securing the supply of material coming in, and especially since there is also in South Africa, compared to the rest of Africa, there's quite a difference in technology and so forth. How do you work on that?
Firstly, we're working with some people that are both international and local. So the technology is readily available. It's quite easy to bring the technology in. It is quite expensive at this moment. That's why I've gone into a partnership to pilot the process. Securing the feedstock is actually the biggest issue at this moment, because I think overseas there are a lot of collection systems that facilitate getting batteries into a recycling center, a recycling business that can then justify or even pay off the investments that you've put into it. At this moment, it's very difficult to justify the feedstock because we're not getting as much of it as we should be. So a lot of the batteries that we're getting is within the electronics. It's a lot of consumer electronics like cell phones and laptops and everything like that. But it's not enough to sustain the plant that we've set up. So a lot of the telecoms companies that we are working with, because they're going to these deep cycle lithium-ion batteries, when they expire over a longer period of time, that's when that waste stream is going to be quite big. But at this moment, we are just talking to a lot of the producers. So I would suggest that one sort of, I would say, guaranteed way to get a feedstock is we are working with producers who have to comply to the EPR scheme, that Extended Producer Responsibility Scheme. And batteries is one of the waste streams that they need to report on. So when an electronic product comes in, or even batteries come in specifically, we will then obviously weigh that and declare it per producer, whoever the producer of that product is. And because that they can see we have a treatment process and a reporting process for EPR, they are choosing to go with us, and now that's how it's increasing our volumes.
Find the unmute button. I'm sorry. Great, thank you. It's very interesting, and maybe anyone else in the panel also have questions to each other, so that is totally fine also to come in with that. Good. Bruce, you said keep it simple, keep it clean. When it comes to problematic fractions, like down here, we experience some problems with flat screens, some of the flat screens, the big TVs, some of the PV panels, the panel itself, and then we still get lots of CRT screens. We also have, which is probably
Simone, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Simone. Sorry, you're breaking up.
Excellent. This is where we take over.
I'm guessing that she's asking what happens with the difficult to deal with parts from.
no, I'm back. I'm sorry. So if I go away, you guys just continue talking about whatever you're expert.
I think maybe what you were asking is what do we do with the difficult to deal with parts, maybe from TV screens and things.
That's how far I got before you lost me.
Whether it's flat panels or CRTs.
Yeah, the light bulbs and tubes, the cartridges and toners, those are the things we encounter a lot of problems with here.
Yeah. And we have to be aware of where those problems lie, of course, as well. So, although I've been involved in recycling for 27 years now altogether, before that I was involved in actually designing these products, particularly microchips, and then after that actually liquid crystal displays. I designed displays for about 15 years for all different types of products. So we have a fair idea of what's inside the products, and it's fairly straightforward, I think, to find out exactly where the hazardous bits are. It doesn't take too much research to figure it out, but we try and find a solution for all items. What we have done with CRTs, and surprisingly, we still get a lot of CRTs in the mix. We get about 2,000 TVs per day in through the factory, and about 400 or maybe 500 of those per day are still CRT televisions. But we have developed a process that we manufacture a product from the panel glass from CRTs. And these products are used in various applications, from decorative aggregates through to floor screeds for the smaller dusts and things that come from it. And the most important point of that is the revenue that those products generate. We sell our panel glass now for about £100 per tonne, and we do about 500 tonnes per year of panel glass entirely from old CRT televisions. The newer flat panels, obviously, the LCD products have fluorescent tubes in the back which contain mercury. The LED ones tend not to. They've got LED lights, still got an LCD panel in. The LCD actual display panel itself is very, very difficult to dispose of, and we're still actually looking at ways of dealing with that. Unfortunately, in the UK, according to the environment agencies here, it's not hazardous, and they don't worry about putting it into landfill. But in my opinion, from my background, I believe it is hazardous, and we're having lots of discussions, arguments with the environment agencies to try and get them to legislate about it.
Giulio, what is your take on that? Just quickly, since you are also an e-waste management company. You're muted.
So yeah, from a legislation perspective, I mean, it does become quite difficult to process, especially new waste streams, because you always need to extend what's happening in your waste license, and it becomes quite difficult in the recycling industry because although it is a growing waste stream, which is totally true, it's one of the fastest growing waste streams in the world, and we really need to effectively do something about it because products become more expensive because of how expensive mining is, but urban mining can be a means to get new commodities. But that means then your environment of recycling businesses become a lot more competitive. So you have a lot of new recyclers that pop up, but they don't seem to have the same standard as you. So you're doing everything that you can to be a compliant recycler, but the culture that we are supposed to have in South Africa is that they look first at price before compliance. And the problem is you end up going almost into a price war to get a feedstock of material rather than these producers looking at you from a compliancy perspective. And sometimes it's quite difficult to actually generate a lot of feedstock like that, especially because what we've noticed in the market is historically everything was very heavy, made out of metal. Electronic recycling was very good to do in the past because there was much higher recovery rates. But you've almost got this curve now where as these electronics increase in volume, the value of it substantially decreases. So the gold that you get on a circuit board decreases, the amount of chips on a circuit board decreases. It becomes a lot harder to cover the same costs with the value of the recovery that you get. So I suppose that's one of the biggest problems that we're facing at the moment. That's why we have to explore new waste streams to sustain ourselves, but also it's just exciting to look at new waste streams. But recycling as a business, I would say, is very exciting because you get exposed to so many different industries, so many different complicated products that come through that you get to see how it's made up of and what is going to be the next step in recycling it.
Yeah, we had a very interesting initial discussion on that also yesterday about the problems when you try to comply and then you have actors. And even I see a lot of authority staff not understanding the importance of following through and following the rules actually that are existing in many other countries here in Africa. And then instead promoting the wrong way of taking care of things or trying to shortcut somehow. So that is very unfortunate. Peter, when you have received this e-waste plastics from We Center, how has it been going to, has it been fitting well into your processes? Have you had to discard anything? A very short, because we're tagging into the next session. You're muted. Peter, do you hear me? You're muted. Can I unmute it?
Can you hear me, Simon?
Yeah.
Okay, my network is a bit shaky. Yeah, I can hear you.
So when receiving the plastics, has it been working well into your process? You mentioned it in your presentation. I just wanted you to confirm. Have you been able to utilize everything, or have you had to discard some?
Yeah, we were able to utilize about 90%. From what we received, 10% of it was metal, which we had to separate further. But in terms of utilization, 90% was able to be recycled, and that was of ABS. And we were able to sell it back to other users, not specifically the electronic manufacturers, but most of it went into manufacturing of helmets for the bicycle companies who are doing the helmets. So yeah, 90% I think is a good rate to start with. It can get better as we continue training the people who are involved in the sorting processes. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Guys, we've exhausted our time. I'm very grateful for the session, and I'm sure everyone now listening has been really enlightened and inspired. I'm sure you will get people contacting you. I already see some activity on that side in the discussion part, which is great. And we have some handouts also, some of the presentations. We'll put up more in the platform later on. So thanks a lot. Have a wonderful continuous day, and stay tuned if possible, because now when we move over to the next session, it is continuing about technologies in the EU sector. So with no further ado, we move forward to the next one. Thanks a lot, guys.